obviously y'all can't do tempo for an entire game, but what was it about that on Thursday that kind of jump-started you on?
Yeah. Something like, obviously you can't do it every play, but I think we all felt that energy. You saw the playmakers making plays, and they helped us get back into that game. And so I think it's something that was definitely a benefit. I think it was something that was good, something I've always felt comfortable in. I've always dreamed of just running no huddle all the time, but I understand there's a defense and an offensive line to think about and all those things, But in my dream world, I would just do that all the time.
Is there just like an element to that of just kind of being on the attack, being the aggressor, and you kind of controlling your personnel groupings, not letting the defense up? Like, is that all that kind of play into that?
Yeah, there's so many benefits, but there's also things that could cause a problem potentially. And so, just like anything, you got to weigh those things. Coaching staff, they do those things. But just as a player, I've always enjoyed it for many reasons. Some teams get real vanilla. Some teams still try and throw their pressures at you, but then leaves them vulnerable if they're trying to disguise or get set up. And there's spaces in certain certain pressure looks and coverage and things like that, which we were able to hit with Mike on one of them. But there's some benefits to it. Now, like we said, you can't do it all the time. You can't make that just one thing, but there's definitely some benefits for sure.
What are some of those benefits and some of the things you enjoy about the no huddle area?
There's some things that I don't want to say because then all the coordinators will know why I like it, and all the defensive players and those things. But I think just like anything, any kind of change up, keeps people off guard. Something that they've done really well here for a long time. Different personnel groups, different tempos, and things like that, and it showed in that game for us.
Is there a way to incorporate it throughout the flow of the game? I know you can't play all four quarters, but even Eric McCoy talked about maybe when you go up to the line, the next play. Like you go up with two plays there.
Yeah, there's different things. There's a lot of different ways. I've been in a couple different systems that have done it. A plethora of ways. Whether it's hand signals, calling two plays. Doing no play call, and you just call it at the line, and or 2-minute kind of mode where a quarterback's just calling plays. And I've done it in every kind of way. And there's benefits and obviously weaknesses to every part of that. But for our coaching staff and DA is the head coach, and how he sees the game and how the coordinators see it's best for our players. There's definitely ways to do it. Is it the week for it? All those kind of things.
Yeah, last week we heard Keith and some others talk about kind of streamlining things a bit, maybe paring down the offensive attack to what people are comfortable with. Obviously, in the hurry up that's kind of happening naturally, we have a limited menu. Do you think that's part of the second half? You kind of just got into a rhythm of what's been working and what people are comfortable with?
Yeah, a lot of that is game plan plays, or I should say training camp type plays, right? You have your game plan plays, and you have to have those because you have to be able to attack a defense a certain way, have answers for certain things, and be ready for anything in a football game. But I think it was just nice, for our guys. We were just running training camp, kind of plays, and that mode that we were in, and there was a few game plan looks that we got to and things like that. So it was a nice mix. And so, I think doing that, I've been a part of, 500 play game plans, and I've also been a part of, 45 play game plans, and I've seen both do success, and I've seen you come off the field and you're like, wow, well, that didn't work. That didn't work. You've been on both sides. So this really takes a deep dive into the study of the team, your own personnel, what's best for your guys, and that's just a short answer for like a pretty big answer kind of question.
Derek, how was Chris Olave's demeanor at practice today?
Oh, Chris was great. Me and Chris, we talk almost every day, and I know he's been battling some things, and he's gone through some stuff. But just as a brother, as a teammate, as a friend, just being there for him. We FaceTime for like 20 minutes the other day. Like we're, getting on the same page. Early in this thing, we knew that there'd be bumps. We just didn't think we'd only have this many wins at this point. But we knew there'd be a couple bumps in the road, and we were just talking through those things on how to be problem solvers. Because one thing I said after the game is I'm too emotional right now. I've wanted it so bad to be perfect from the beginning, and I'm in year 10. I'm not in year 2. I have just this expectation of how it should feel, but I've had to calm myself and just be a better communicator. And and I explain that where I've been wrong in some of my expressions and things like that. maybe there's a different way to go about certain things, and honestly, there's been times where he may have caught the brunt of something that wasn't even hit about him, and the same to me. I've been yelled at by players and coaches in my career and things like that, and then you talk about it. Football is a violent, tough sport. Sometimes there's emotions and things are going to happen, but with one thing Rich Bisaccia always told me, he said, you can have that moment, just make sure you always circle back. And I thought that the conversations Chris and I had have been just so productive, and it's been so good that I think he's in a good place. I like where he's at. His mentality today was awesome. Made some great plays, so I'm excited for what he does.
Those conversations extend out from just not only the communication stuff, but stuff that's happened recently with Chris. Did any of those conversations you have to talk to him about? Basically what he went through and what kind of words of advice, or did you lend any support to him for what he's been going through? Yesterday, or a couple days ago with the arrest.
Yeah, anytime I've ever had a teammate go through anything, whether it's really big, really small, you never know what someone's going through. So it may be small to us or it may be big to you never know. So yeah, I'm always there to support and send him a text. We FaceTimed, like I said, and we're in a great place. He's in a good place, and so hopefully we respect that and just let him have that space. And he's in a good spot, and I'm excited to see what he does these last 10 or so games. Like I can't wait to see what we can do, and keep ramping up, and we're getting better. You hope, I've said this too many times, you hope to get better after a win, but we've had to get better after some losses, and we've definitely gotten better and worked on that. But yeah, I definitely have talked to him, and super positive.
Derek, being a competitor, how do you walk the fine line between not being too emotional?
Yeah. I mean, I know what's good for me, and I know when I'm in a good place, and I know when I'm too frustrated, and with whatever. It doesn't even matter what the reason, but I just know. And it's so funny, people, they think, everyone thought I was yelling at Pete one time. Wasn't even talking to Pete. Everyone thought, one thing or this thing, or I'm mad at that and mad at this. Is like, man, 10 years ago when I got in the league, every quarterback was cussing everybody out, and now I didn't even cuss nobody out, and everyone thinks that everyone's mad at each other, and so times are definitely changing. I can tell by the gray hairs in my beard, and by people getting upset by a quarterback yelling. But I do have to temper my emotions, and I think with a little bit of the frustration of losing, I've let that get the best of me, if I'm honest. And usually, no matter a mistake, I'm super positive, but I also realize how good we can be. And I won't change the demand of excellence for myself, for my teammates, but there is a better way to do it, I think.
Derek, that one specifically certainly came across as that someone else made a mistake. I mean, so in this case, did you have to specifically apologize to Chris for that? Because obviously it made everyone think Chris did something wrong, that it was just watching. Everyone
on that field did something wrong during that game, even the team that won, and there's just been a few times where, our communication based on the expectation or based on what I thought the design was, what he thought the design was, what he was told, what I was told. And the best thing to do is just lay it out there, wipe it out. Okay, this is what I'm thinking. And what didn't get caught is right after that happened, him and I went face to face, and we talked calmly. Hey, this way, and he goes, okay, cool.
Yeah.
It was good, but then all of a sudden you lose. People hear it. It's a bigger deal than, as football players, what we may have thought, in that moment. And so we cleared it up. I, said where I was wrong. He admitted, he's like, oh yeah, I thought this, and so we're good. And moving forward, I think that's really how our whole team is, and it's been almost a week, so we've had a lot of good days in between there.
Well, there have been public examples. I think players are being more vocal about pointing out what didn't work on this or what they'd like to see more. That probably comes with losing 4 out of 5 games, but how I don't know, I don't want to use the word crisis. I mean, how critical have you guys taken that over this last week that it can't go in this direction, I guess, between you guys on the offense?
Yeah, because I've seen things where it can go. I've been on those hills where once it goes, it's done. This isn't that. I try and use my experience to help, with lessons and things I've learned, and we're going to be okay. But there's no more time for, oh dang it, And now I'm not saying that mistakes aren't going to happen, but there's some things that just can't happen, right? That we've talked about, and as long as we limit those and minimize those things, look, someone's going to get beat. I'll miss a throw. Something's going to happen in the next 10 weeks. But the main things that obviously I won't say, but those things that we've talked about that can't happen, I think we're going to do those things better. We'll be better for it. But there is an emphasis on like now, so the demand is the same, but I think the communication, the conversation has been better.
And I know we talked about how one of the things you liked about this and that they liked about you is being able to have more than one play called, line of scrimmage, adjust. Have some of the problems stemmed from that, where you think you're directing one way and that's getting lost in translation? Or
I'm trying to think. This past game, a lot of what we did was that at the end. Where Pete has a great plan of things for me, and he's like, "Hey, think on this," and then I go out there and boom, boom, boom. So we've done some things really well with that. But there have been early on, not last week, but I can't remember exactly the
maybe
weeks.
The Houston,
where
late in the game.
There's a check and it was it wasn't executed the way we should have executed it, and so there's been a little bit of that, but that got cleaned up and we actually ended up doing that great in the next game, and so there's a lot of hope for us and encouragement inside our building, but we do feel the pressure to, man, we got to get a win, man. Let's get back on track. It's going to be tough to do against this team too.
Derek, you've said a couple.
When you hear a quarterback, I'm sorry.
No,
When you're a quarterback, do a 43-minute video and says some very unkind things about you. Is that kind? Do you take that personally when another quarterback does that?
I don't know who it was. I didn't see a video, but I've seen a lot of quarterbacks run a lot of similar plays, and I've been in a lot of systems where they're read differently. You're taught different things in the game plan. Hey, if this safety's going this way, we want to work this way or this. And so I will never be that guy to do that to somebody. So I'm sorry I don't know exactly what you're talking about, but no matter who it was, I really don't care. Because they're not in my meeting room with my coaches, with the communication with our players that, hey, we're going after this matchup. Same mirrored play, we're going to do this. There was actually, someone sent me one where it was funny because there was actually a bust on the defense and everyone was mad at two of us for not doing a certain thing. I was like, man, we didn't know they were going to screw that up. You expect a certain thing, and we did a certain thing. So that crap happens. But I'm sorry that I don't know exactly what it was.
JT O'Sullivan who was a quarterback here for a while.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't see it. He's more than welcome to come. Do it with me in our meeting room. He can come kick it with us, and I don't have hard feelings towards anybody doing that because how media. Some media is, they're trying to make it about them and, certain things. And I don't know if people are trying to do that or not trying to do that. I just don't pay attention to any of it. I just try and be great, communicator for you guys when I can on Wednesdays and after the games.
Derek, obviously the long week, a few extra days for self-scouting, kind of self-evaluation. How would you kind of evaluate your performance through 7 weeks? Are you at the level you think you need to be at going forward?
We're always trying to improve. I'm never going to, we're doing good. As soon as you're like, we're good, that's when crap gets really bad, And so the understanding and, getting to things and doing things, I feel very comfortable, feel very confident, but there's things I can do better, but there's things that we all could do better, and that's football. And whether I've had a Pro Bowl year or not a Pro Bowl year, that's always been a constant theme that I've learned in football is, man, there's always this constant process that you're always trying to be perfect knowing you'll never get there. And so I feel confident where I'm at. I feel confident when I can go out there and win a football game and all those things, and I know what I'm doing, and our guys know what they're doing. We just got to put it all together.
Derek, it sounds like you're really optimistic about what y'all can be still.
Yeah.
Why is that? Why you've said it multiple times in this year, you're like, we're going to get it figured out. So what gives you that confidence?
We're like a few plays away on some certain things where when we made the corrections in there, man, if we did that, look what it could be. Next week we did that thing better, and then it was something else. And the only way we're going to get better, I said it early too, is you got to play games together. And I'm going to get, there's certain things I had to break down. If it's this look, I want to do this. If I see this, and I want to do this, and it changes from week to week. And things that I'm used to doing, that are second nature to me, man, it's a whole new learning curve because I'm dealing with new, this or that. And so I feel like we keep getting better on certain things, and that's why I still have hope. If we had a bunch of guys come in here sad and feeling sorry for themselves and, not working, and practice was terrible, then I'd be, I probably would be too emotional again, honestly. But I don't feel that way because of the men that I'm around. I just continue to see this fight to want to get it right. And so it's still early in the season. We're going to be all right.
Derek, what DA said earlier, these last few days, there's been a lot of talk, a lot of meetings, a lot of conversations. I mean, how would you characterize the last few days with the team in general, the leaders on the team?
Yeah. I won't get into like what exactly was said and all that kind of stuff, personal. But I was FaceTiming all the guys on offense, talking to all the guys, the leaders, the things, and we're demanding from each other. We're encouraging one another. We're iron sharpens iron. We don't have to hide and not talk about it. Let's just get it out there. What's your problem? What's my problem? What's our problem? Now, how do we fix it? And be men about it. And I think that the ultimate thing that I took away was I felt this unity in the last, I don't know the days, but the last 4 or 5 days, that just this unity, this come togetherness. We put it out there. We said what we needed to say, and everyone felt good leaving the conversation. It wasn't like, man, I still don't like that. I don't feel like every conversation was like, man, that feels right. That feels right. Now hold me to that. I'm gonna hold you to that, kind of thing. And so I think it was super positive. I was super encouraged by it. Even my conversations, calling coaches and saying, hey, what do you need from me? I'm asking this of you, and we're doing it together, and that's what I love. There's no pointing fingers, none of that. It's just like, what is the problem? How do we solve that problem? Because everyone can point out a problem, everyone can do that, but how do we solve it is the main thing. And we have a lot of guys that I felt my takeaway was unity, and a lot of guys solving problems, not just saying we really were putting the work in, to solve it. And I think that's why I felt so encouraged and so hopeful.
Did you initiate that? Was that something you felt?
Yeah, I felt like the Lord was putting it on my heart, if I'm just being honest with you, like I just felt like I needed to call some people, communicate, grow that relationship in certain areas, get an understanding also of certain things. And I just felt, there was a lot of that, and it just felt super positive, and I was, I'm not gonna lie, I was really upset, man. I was really angry after that game because we let another one get away, and I let it stew for about 15, 18 hours, and I went right to my phone, started just like, all right, look, I can sit here and feel sad and feel sorry for myself all I want for the next 3 days, or we can do something about it. And so a lot of guys on the phone, texting, like I said, FaceTiming, and I thought it was super positive.
Hey, how much does it help having Juwan back?
Sorry.
How much does it help just having a guy like Juwan back?
It's great. He's one of our, no matter who you take out, you can't replace that guy, And Juwan is an unbelievable player. He's an unbelievable person. And so I'm excited to have him back, and, hopefully, whatever, that looks like. But yeah, I'm excited whenever he gets back that he'll be out there rolling because he's a dynamic player for sure.
Quick matchup question, just Indianapolis challenge their defense presents to you.
Yeah, well, number one starts with the coaching staff. I know a lot of those guys. I was with them in Las Vegas, when we went to the playoffs, and I know how they think, and I know how joyful they are every time they come in the building. No matter how bad the last one was or anything like that, they're going to come in and be full of energy, cranking music. They're going to bring energy. They're going to play, and they play with effort and energy and violence, and they're fast, and they're all about the football. They want to punch the ball out. They want tips and overthrows. They want all those things. And so even more so our efficiency in the way that we play the game and our fundamentals, myself in the pocket, all those things, guys on the perimeter when they have the ball. You're carrying the organization right there. So, all of those things are at an all-time high when you play a Gus Bradley defense, because that's all they're talking. That's all they've been trained all off season. It's all about that football. And so whatever coverages and, different kind of tweaks he wants to make to it and this kind of that or that, he'll do that, and you got to be ready for it. But one thing I know is they're going to be violent. They're going to fly around, and they're going to try and win up front, and create similar looks with pressure, or similar looks with a different cover. They do a great job, and I have all the respect in the world, not only for those players that are on that defense. I've played many years, but for those coaches, because I love Gus. Every week, but this week, he's one of my favorites.
Derek, looking back on the preseason, do you wish you would have played more? Did that have made any differences? Let's say as an offense that you guys played a half one game and a half the next, would that have accelerated the process a little bit?
It's hard to say because you don't really get a lot of difficult kind of looks, you know. It's kind of vanilla. It's kind of cover three, you know. It's just very simple, kind of basic kind of stuff because no one wants to show their stuff or they're not really game planning certain things. So some of the things that we've been correcting are things that you're not necessarily going to get in a preseason. Now, do I think it helped? I don't know. You know, that's for the coaches to decide. But some of the things that we're talking about are just, you know, different than what I think you'd see in a preseason game.
Thanks, guys.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eric.
Yep.